China. A nation undergoing a new cultural revolution at the dawn of the 21st century. This epic journey from the air will reveal a nation in transition. As millions migrate for new lives to megacities being built at record pace. Engineering marvels rise across China's epic landscape, and cutting-edge transport systems roll out to meet the demands of 200 million people on the move. China's reach even extends to Earth's orbit. It's a country experiencing unprecedented change. After centuries in seclusion, China is now revealed. China, a 5,000-year-old civilization in a hurry. Over the last 3 decades, it has modernized faster than any other country. At the heart of this transformation is one city, Shanghai. It's now China's most populous city, its financial hub, and the world's busiest port. The 24 million Shanghai residents speak their own dialect and travel round on one of the biggest transportation systems in the world. It's the rapid rise of its skyscrapers that's really caught the world's imagination, including one man whose life's work has been to record this transformation.
这个城市建筑摄影对我来说呢，它既是工作，又是一个自己的一个非常的爱好，是一种对一个城市的一份情感。
Zheng Xianzheng has spent 20 years photographing the rapidly evolving skyline of Shanghai. In 1993, this photo captured Shanghai with almost no skyscrapers. But by 2014, it had as many as Tokyo City.
每次站在这个地方看，既看到城市的发展，又看到城市的文化、城市的历史。这边是全新的，那边呢是我们的一些百年建筑。从这个角度看过去，实际是看到一个城市的对比，它是在发展，但是呢，很多好的那种传统的建筑文化的东西，它也在非常好的保留之中。 我今天拍的所有的照片，将来都是一个历史。这个呢，是一份很有意义的事情。
This urban transformation is spread across China. Over 600 million people now live in 656 cities. They are building the equivalent of the city the size of Chicago every year. The manpower required to drive this urban explosion has come from the rural backwaters of this vast nation. By 2030, 350 million people, the population of the United States, are expected to move from the countryside to the cities. An exodus that dwarfs the 19th century industrial revolution of Europe and America. Here, the modern and the ancient often collide in these chaotic cities. Ancient Chinese traditions are hard to shake off.
今天是中国清明节嘛，我们就非常，怀着一种心情，非常这个特殊的心情吧，去福寿园，祭拜一下已逝的长辈。
The Li family is joining more than 3 million people in Shanghai on a pilgrimage to pay respects to their dead. It's called tomb sweeping. Traveling to their relatives' graves was once an easy task from rural towns and villages. Now, millions have to exit their new urban suburbs along congested trunk routes, causing chaos.
每年正清明的时候，我们队里都会安排几架直升机到各个牧区以及牧区周边的这个道路来巡逻，为地面这个疏导交通提供一些决策或者决策的信息。
我现在在 S3两边上有个仙后牧区，车辆拥堵严重。
Tomb sweeping literally involves cleaning and restoring family gravestones, whilst paying spiritual respect to their deceased elders.
中国这个儒家思想和这个就是从古代一直到现在，一个孝就是一个孝道是看得非常重要的。所以说，在这个清明节的时候，大家因为平时都很忙，都可能没有时间去怀念或者是祭拜或者是扫墓，这些就是在这个国定假日，而且国家特别颁布的这个假日嘛，所以我相信在这个假日里，大家都会利用这个时间去把这件事情就是把它做得好一点。
The new city dwellers are establishing thousands of new plots on the outskirts of the city, where land is cheaper. But such is the demand of Shanghai residents, they're likely to run out in 15 years.
我想简单来说，这个就不能忘本吧，应该是这样一种情节啊。这个祖先给了我们身体，我想更给了我们灵魂啊，所以通过这样的形式来把我们祖先留给我们的这种好的传统能够传承下去。
Tomb sweeping is a tradition being kept alive in modern cities. But it's dwarfed by another festival that draws Chinese people all the way to their home villages and towns, wherever they are now. It's the Chinese New Year. 200 million Chinese leave the cities, the biggest annual migration of people on the planet. But how do so many leave their new cities for the homes of their parents and grandparents? By adopting the most advanced transportation system in the world, high-speed rail. Started in only 2007, at 6,000 miles and growing, it's already the longest bullet train network in the world. Traveling the 800-mile trip from Shanghai to Beijing used to take 14 hours. Now you can get there in just over 5 hours, at speeds upwards of 180 miles per hour. And for families like the Wangs, this cutting-edge transportation is critical for their New Year exodus. Their hometown of Tsitsiha is in the far northeast, a distance of 950 miles. A journey that would take 36 hours by conventional transport, but not anymore. The bullet train's immense speed is achieved with new electrified track across China and aerodynamic trains made from lightweight composite materials.
作为一个设计师来说，我经历了中国的高铁的一个发展，从2004年到今年2014年，都是一个很兴奋、很激动的一个心情。代替公路包括航空的发展过程，就是经过这高铁的发展，我们的发展是相当于改变了中国人的出行方式。
In the end, the Wang's annual day-and-a-half trip is shortened to 15 hours.
在车上的时间没长，但是在心里的时间特别短。通过车窗外看见白雪，回想起了以前和父母一起在家过年，这种心情真的特别高兴。
快进去，快进去！
镜头，累了。过年了，哎，快乐，注意啊！
我和他妈俩和这个姑姑当中非常惦记着他们，走了这么多年了，过年了他们回来之后，我们非常的高兴，一家人都聚到一起了。
The Chinese New Year takes place at the start of spring. For the new urban middle class, the summer brings a new Western-style holiday into their calendar, the beach holiday. And for the many landlocked Chinese, traveling to far-flung seaside resorts is not an option. The answer: create the world's largest artificial beach. 800 miles inland from coastal China, the new Chinese middle class like to spend their leisure time by the water without having to travel miles to get to the beach. This artificial beach resort can hold up to 10,000 visitors. So successful, it's become a unique attraction in its own right, and now draws visitors from as far and wide as Beijing, 875 miles away.
我们是朋友，所以我们经常两个人结伴出来旅游的。
这里认同那个朋友介绍，然后我们自己在网上查了一下，这里好像对人体都很有帮助，一个对皮肤，像我们这种年龄了，很讲究皮肤的。
It's not just an artificial sea resort. There's one of the world's biggest indoor swimming pools here too. A giant wave machine is its main attraction. The Chinese name for this incredible sight is dumpling soup.
就是我回到了就是那个叫什么20岁的时候，这里是儿童乐园。
对，让我们回到了童年的时候了，对。
When the Chinese aren't splashing out on beach holidays, they're turning to television and cinema for their entertainment. China's movie market is now the world's second largest, with tens of thousands of cinema screens, and homegrown production is booming. To feed this hunger for entertainment that was denied to them for decades, south of Shanghai, in Zhejiang province, a massive complex has been built. China's answer to Hollywood, Chinawood. This 6,400-acre outdoor film set is now the world's biggest. Chinese history is being retold for Chinese audiences, like the Hollywood studios of the 1940s and 50s. Giant backlots reproduce key periods in Chinese history. It is spread over 10 square miles, around twice the size of Beverly Hills, and consists of 13 shooting bases. Hollywood had westerns. Chinawood has its own Wild West, dynastic dramas, and high-octane martial arts movies. Wang Ying is directing a new martial arts movie.
最早是在那个松江武校学武术。 后来又去少林寺，那前是年龄小也不懂，家里人说去练了，我就去练了，啊，反正挺苦的，也想回家。后来练了个几年以后吧，一打比赛，哎，感觉不错，后来就一直坚持到现在。
As a graduate of the Shaolin Temple, Wang Ying brings authenticity to his action movies. A modern twist to an ancient martial arts tradition.
"演员的话，我们一般呢就是指拍他们的近景，然后打完了都是替身演员在打。等会儿我们那个武打替身的话，就是穿上威亚衣，然后这个打上扣，然后直接拉起来就飞了。 有技巧，这个要专业训练，专业训练，他有些腰直起来一些东西，最大的还是配合吧，因为那围牙的话，它好多东西是，就是大家要配合，6个人拉着1个人在空中飞，要配合不好的话，那个人掉下来就会受伤。
With annual box office receipts reaching almost $5 billion and 13 new cinemas opening every day, China's demand for films will continue to grow like the rest of the nation. In 10 years, China will have over 200 cities with more than 1 million residents, and 8 megacities with over 10 million. To deliver enough power to run these cities requires the building of the biggest high-voltage transmission network on Earth. China's rampant growth has outstripped this nation's infrastructure. Housing nearly 1.4 billion requires huge engineering projects. In the southeast of China is Lishui Zhejiang province. The workers here are installing an ultra-high voltage cable network that will run for thousands of miles across China's rugged interior.
我从事这个工作已经第9年了，这工作嘛危险性比较高了，因为我们要登高，有时候下雨天有时候也要干，在上面比较滑，风口比较大的地方会把人给你敲翻掉的。
Each tower is located on a precipitous mountain ridge. Xu's place of work is a further 213 feet above that.
如果这个间隔棒没安装好，比方说台风来以后，那个导线相碰啊，这个碰了以后就摩擦，摩擦之后那个导线就断掉了，这个铁塔就会倒掉，拉倒掉。因为我们这个导线在附件作为一个就是平衡的，就是有带张力的，所以一根往下断掉的话，这个铁塔就一下子受不了这个冲击力。
The ultra-high voltage cable network is one solution to China's power generation problems. In China, the distances between some cities and power plants are vast. Energy is lost the longer electricity travels along normal power lines. This new system transmits 5 times the capacity of the old electricity grid. When completed, this integrated electric highway is set to stretch for more than 12,000 miles, half of the Earth's circumference. To provide the energy needed to power China's growth means supplying the nation's power plants with vast quantities of fossil fuels. This is where another innovative engineering project comes in. This container ship, as long as 3 football pitches, is not carrying shoes or smartphones to the West. It's transporting liquid natural gas to the rest of China.
这个船它对精度的要求特别高，不光是对船体，包括对底面的这一些货物的维护系统啊、货物的操作系统啊，因为它跟其他的船来比，它牵涉到的设备啊和自动化的程度啊。 它比较高。
Liquid natural gas has to be stored at -260 degrees Fahrenheit, more than 3 times as cold as the Antarctic winter. Capturing this much gas at high pressure is a complex and dangerous engineering task.
那么我们能够建造这样的一个，应该说也是目前国际上主流的这种 LNG 的船型，在工业制造方面就达到了一个世界一个领先的水平。
China's unrelenting growth has produced a negative impact that affects the health of the majority of its people. It has the worst pollution levels on our planet. To replace fossil fuels, Chinese engineers are in a race against time to build giant wind farms. China's rapidly growing cities have caused pollution on a scale not seen in history. Coal and car pollutants often produce a permanent twilight in Shanghai, Beijing, and other cities. Sunlight is often unable to pierce the gloom, Even plants struggle to photosynthesize on the worst days. In the far northwestern province of Xinjiang, they're employing a 2,000-year-old invention. To harness the unusual climatic conditions across these enormous plains. Wind power. This modern wind farm alone has 300 turbines spreading across 50 miles. These giant wind farms are quickly coming online.
中国风电起步也比较晚，但是发展是非常迅速的。从06年到现在，实际上累计的装机容量是逐步的在增加的。
China can now power 110 million homes by harnessing the electricity generating power of the wind. And in just 5 years, it plans to double that. But the space-age composite materials have to withstand extreme conditions. Wind blades, some as long as 200 feet, have to cope with temperature swings of 130 degrees and hurricane-force winds.
我们现在正在进行的是叶片的疲劳实验。疲劳实验就是模拟叶片在运行20年的使用寿命的过程中是否能满足要求。
Once each blade passes the rigorous testing regime, they're ready for installation. An epic feat in itself. The very wind that will be converted into precious electricity will make the raising of 3 6-ton blades 230 feet in the air extremely hazardous. It's a massive and yet precise operation for the engineers. With the 32-ton structure dangerously exposed to sudden gusts of wind, they have to get the angle and positioning just right before the tower and turbine slot together just so. Incredibly, 2 men stand in the docking head 230 feet up to help the blades slot in. High-tech projects are not the only solution to China's burgeoning demands. The South China Sea is a natural resource being used to sustain the growing millions. This tiny inlet off Hainan Island is key to one of China's biggest supply problems: their love of seafood. Around this island, they use an ancient practice that produces fish without a single fishing line and boat. Instead, they farm the fish that's normally caught at sea. This is the floating village of Sanduao. Here they've created hundreds of fish farms floating in the salt water. It's a centuries-old settlement that's home to more than 8,000 people. Over generations, they have built a self-sustaining village fashioned entirely out of bamboo and wood, with its own post office, police station, convenience stores, restaurants, and medical center. The tropical area has the deepest ice-free natural harbor in the world and a year-round warm climate, making it suitable for breeding fish. Sange is a 6th-generation Tanka who breeds fish commercially here.
老爸以前教我们呢捕鱼啊，作业抓什么鱼的，打鱼的看起来又辛苦，老爸就是说转业啊，不做海个上岸呢。这个是东星斑呢，这个鱼现在目前是最值钱的了，就是我的小孩就是喜欢养鱼，跟养这个龙虾。 这行他们就喜欢点，叫他们出海，他们就不喜欢呢。
China's large interior allows for engineering projects to be rolled out on a grand scale. The Tibetan Qinghai Plateau, 5 times the size of Spain, is known as the roof of the world. The thin air and high altitude means it receives incredible amounts of solar radiation. An ideal place for one of the world's largest solar parks. This sea of photovoltaic panels generates enough energy to power an average city. This will become critical for China as demand is ever increasing. This is the coastal city of Shenzhen in southeast China. "35 years ago, this was a small town with a population of 300,000 people. "12 million people live here now, feeding the largest manufacturing base in the world. Nearly 700 million Chinese live in cities now. Shenzhen also suffers high levels of pollution. Their problem isn't coal power stations and factories. but the 3 million vehicles congesting the roads.
深圳这个地方呢，污染的贡献率最大还是在交通上面，它没有太多的工厂了，所以把汽车这个解决了以后，就可以解决排放的问题。
The city's solution is to build a huge fleet of electric buses. Fully charged, these zero-emission machines run for 150 miles.
我来到深圳是06年，原先没有这么多车，也不这么塞。现在因为可能时代在发展吧，每人都买车，但是塞车是深圳每天存在的，就像我们吃饭必须塞。
Electric vehicles are not new, but the scale of implementation is. "3,000 buses operate throughout the city. All are controlled from a central computer under the command of Yan Guangxian."
这个房间是我们整个深圳市新能源汽车的一个监控中心。我们现在在深圳市有74个场站，像中间这个地图，它这个蓝色点的话，它就是代表一辆车，每一辆车和每一个场站我们都可以做到监控。
New technology is key to not only the transport systems in China's cities, but also to transporting the Chinese to places beyond the confines of China and even our planet. New technological advances have seen them enter the space race with the US and Russia for the first time. China has entered the space race. From the first Chinese astronaut to walk in space in 2008, now they're building their own space station. Back on Earth, in Xinglong, near the capital of Beijing, the Chinese are also mapping the heavens with high-tech telescopes. After all, they were among the planet's first astronomers. This is the LAMOST telescope, an incredibly powerful telescope designed to capture wide swathes of space. When fully operational, it will become the world's most powerful telescope of its class. It will map 10 million stars in our galaxy and 1 million other galaxies beyond. But even LAMOST will soon be dwarfed by one of China's latest engineering marvels. 1,112 miles southwest in the mountains of Guizhou, China is building a telescope that will take another cosmic leap into the future. With a diameter of 1,600 feet, it will be more than 1.5 times as big as the world's largest telescope. This gargantuan eye for the night sky will see extraplanetary transmissions 1,000 light years away.
宋朝时代，1054年，我们观测到了一个克星，就突然天空大放光芒，实际就是一个超新星。这个望远镜开光之后，可能我们选的第一个目标就是看一眼那个东西，这就是现代、未来和 和我们久远的历史之间的关联。
For the telescope to operate effectively, it's located in a remote area with no electronic interference or noise pollution. But the engineers are working at the very edge of what's possible.
我们就像小蜘蛛一样，我们要结一个500米的大网。这根网有6000多根锁来组成，总的重量有1500多吨。如果说其中一根面锁，它在设计或者施工过程中它张拉的不到位，我们这个球形就没办法成型。最大的风险就是我在现场100多号工人都要在60米以上的高空在作业，这个风险简直就是让人无法想象。就我们看见这种走钢丝的人，觉得他们风险很高，实际上我们的人天天都在走钢丝。我们作为工程师来说，其实我们不愿意做超级大项目，因为困难很高，非常难。但是呢，因为受这种地理条件的影响局限性，我们必须要做这种大的时候，我们也愿意去做。其实我们都一直在挑战自我，挑战自我。我们要看我们到底能够做多大，做成多么好。
China is now well and truly part of a new space race, and efforts to understand the origins of our universe. It's a nation that until recently was closed off to the world, that has transformed itself in incredible ways. From a rural society into the world's factory. Cities have been built to a size and scale not matched in any previous period in world history. Across this vast and inhospitable land, high-tech transportation and highways are built at an incredible pace. Engineering solutions are required to supply the huge amounts of energy that are needed to reduce pollution that's affecting almost half of its nearly 1.4 billion population. Against this ever-changing landscape, millions of Chinese still observe ancient traditions and rites, whilst discovering new forms of leisure and entertainment. China, a vast melting pot of past and present, now revealing itself to the world.